Welcome to today's episode of The Breach Room, where we sit down with some of the sharpest minds in the cybersecurity industry. This episode is powered by Outframe. At Outframe, we help cybersecurity firms break free from the outdated lead generation methods such as networking events, conferences, and relying on referrals, because oftentimes that's more wishful thinking and not so much a real strategy for growth. So with our battle-tested, data-driven client acquisition approach, we created a system that will bring your ideal client with no chasing, guesswork, and just predictable growth. So if you're in cybersecurity and you're looking forward to scale your business and see results within just the first week, DM the word growth for a free consultation. And now, without further ado, we have the CEO of DarkSky Technologies. Michael, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about who you are?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name's Mike Mehlberg. I'm the CEO of DarkSky Technology. Just living here in the DC area in the US. I've been in kind of the business of protecting aerospace and defense systems from different cybersecurity and reverse engineering type threats for, I guess, almost 25 years now. It feels like a long time to say. I've got a computer science background. I got my start basically securing operating systems against a lot of the different threats that we see today, more and more that are out there. I did a little work in cryptography. I did a little work in hardware security and was able to put that all together into doing some kind of system level security stuff, which addressed the concerns of hardware reverse engineering and hacking and protecting critical information with cryptography and combining all of that with software security and operating system protection. Lately, especially here at DarkSky, we've been looking at one of the bigger problems that we see out there, which is how do we protect our software supply chain against all of the different threats that are out there, because so many people are using open source technologies nowadays and pulling code from all over the place. And it's become a new threat vector for attackers to go after. That's just a little background on me, and I'm excited to talk about cybersecurity more with you.
Thank you so much. And I saw a LinkedIn post regarding like the policy library. Would you like to elaborate on what that actually entails and what it means for your clients?
Yeah, 100%. So the policy library is a piece of a product that we offer called Bulletproof Trust. And the aim of that product is to measure the risk in the software supply chain to make sure that you're not pulling in packages that are risky in a way. Risk means different things to different people, right? So some people might be concerned, especially in the DoD, like foreign actors. Other people are using open source from all over the world and they don't care. Some people may be concerned about certain vulnerabilities that have high level of EPSS or CVSS scores. Other people know that those vulnerabilities will never be used in their code because they're not exercising those portions. So risk means different things to different people. There's also policy risk that's out there. So you have different regulations and requirements like NIST 800-218 is one, the Secure Software Development Framework. A lot of people follow those requirements or those regulations to make sure that they're developing software securely. And if they're not, they want to know about it. And so what the policy library is, it's kind of a way to automate those risk decisions. It's policy as code, as some people call it. How do I, instead of manually checking against all of the different company requirements that I have and industry regulations, how do I automatically filter the code that I'm developing through that and check those policy rules and regulations automatically, and then have these tools tell me exactly what is missing and what isn't? So that's what the policy library is, essentially a collection of policies that we provide to our customers, but it also lets you develop your own company policies so that you can assess your software against the different risks that you in particular care about, and make sure that you keep those out of your systems.
That's super valuable. And I'm so glad you're providing so much value to everyone that is connected to you. And have you been able to leverage AI to help you, with the fulfillment in your service?
100%. I mean, AI is extremely valuable. Just in general, leveraging AI to help business operations and just be able to move faster is one thing that we've done a lot. We're looking at AI. We've collected a lot of information about hundreds of thousands of packages that are out there, and essentially hundreds of billions to open source, maybe even over 1 trillion at this point. It's a lot of information, and it's more than a human being can make sense of, right? So we're able to do a lot of the low-hanging fruits, vulnerability detection and looking at licenses and other risks, things of that nature, just with, kind of hand-coded modules. But it's getting to the point where we're starting to really look seriously at how to integrate artificial intelligence to maybe try and find risks and issues that a human being just couldn't because there's just too much data out there. There's another thing that we've used artificial intelligence for as well, both the new school artificial intelligence with large language models, but also machine learning AI to train up systems to translate from one type of code to another, and specifically for translating from unsafe programming languages like C into a memory-safe programming language like Rust, which doesn't allow for various memory type vulnerabilities that plague a lot of modern systems that are out there. So we can, through a lot of development effort that we've done over the past couple of years, we have tools and technologies and capabilities that use machine learning and large language models to help get from unsafe programming languages to safe languages to kind of eliminate that class of memory safety vulnerabilities from your code. So that's been pretty exciting work too.
That sounds like a super complex solution, and I mean, if you can leverage AI, I'm pretty sure that like the reports are going to be a lot more comprehensive because, like you said, a human cannot possibly go through all of that data so quickly.
It's too much. I know it's too much and it moves too fast, right? You have to be able to keep up with it. If you're making decisions on vulnerabilities that came out in your code a month ago, you're way, way too late.
100%. As a CEO of DarkSky Technology, what are you mainly responsible for? Like, what does the day to day look like? Because I'm assuming you've been in business for like a few years now, and first you were probably doing everything yourself, and that's how it always starts. But today, I'm assuming the picture is a lot different.
We're still a small company, and so I would say that all of us are doing everything ourselves in the company, which is fun. We all like to wear a lot of hats, but it's changed a little bit over the years where I still like to take and do a lot of the marketing work. I'm still involved in some of the sales activities, but as we grow, I'm trying to step back and more address the vision and the strategy and the messaging and positioning of the company. And we've got great developers, doing incredible work. Like I said at the beginning, I have a computer science background, but the type of development that they're doing just far exceeds anything that I was ever capable of. And it's such a new way of development that I've become familiar with over the years, but I've long since left development behind. So it's been really fun. I get to talk to the development team about what they're building and have some input into what it looks like and how we take it to market. But like I said, more and more, I'm trying to step back a little bit and focus more on vision and strategy of the company to make sure that we're building the tools that our customers are going to find valuable in keeping these threats out of their software supply chain.
I feel like that's such a fine line because when you talk about sales and marketing, I'm thinking like, wow, he's really in the front line of the business because that's directly impacting the bottom line. At the same time, you have to kind of like step back and look into the bigger picture to make sure you're aligned with the industry. It just sounds to me like you have become an expert at this thing, and who's better than you to grow the sales pipeline, the marketing pipeline. So, what are some of the things that you still like to get involved with in those regards?
I love talking to customers directly because that's where you get to hear the problems that people are really dealing with. And we can't always help, but if you're talking to the right people, there's nothing better than hearing the problem that they're having, you can provide a solution for. I get really excited when I know that we've developed a capability that can just solve somebody's problem instantly. So I love still talking to the customers. And I guess I would say sort of an artsy kind of a person. And so I like the artistic side of marketing. I like the copywriting and the written side of marketing. And so I do stay involved in the marketing side just because I enjoy trying to take complicated technology concepts and boil them down into what actually value they provide to people, which for me, that's the marketing piece that I really enjoy.
Wow, and how big is your team? I know you said you're still relatively small company, but I'm just curious, how many people do you work on a
We've got a handful of folks working full time, and then we have some groups that help us do our user interface work, Code Geek out of Colorado, and we can kind of scale up or down as needed depending on what kind of work we have that day. But we're kind of in the range of between 6 to 10 people, depending on the level of effort that we need to put in on any given month. which is a great size. Everybody knows each other. We're all running at the speed of development and business, so to speak, and just trying to make a lot of progress and have some fun along the way.
I love that. It sounds like a family culture to me.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
And what are some of the metrics that you're mostly focused on right now, whether in terms of revenue or in terms of delivery?
Yeah, business metrics wise, we've got a product now. When you start in the early days, right, it's kind of proof of concept. Am I developing something that's actually helping people? And along the way, you find other avenues that you can go down to make the product even better. We've gotten to that point over the past couple of years now where we've added so many pieces to this puzzle that we really have a comprehensive and mature product that can scale up or down to any size organization. And so what we're trying to do now is, turn those into subscriptions, right? If we can help somebody with them, we'll do that monitoring for them. We'll check their supply chain. We'll continuously monitor for vulnerabilities and other risks after the fact. That means to us that we get the product installed. That means to our customers that they get the help that they need 24/7 over the course of that subscription year. So we've gone from kind of building individual pieces and engineering extra value or engineering extra features into the product that we didn't have before to now having so many features that we feel like we can really address a lot of different problems in the supply chain. And so that's the big goal for us business wise is just getting installed in as many customers as we can help as possible.
I love that model because, as a subscription, they're protected. They have the support 24/7. And at the same time, it's creating kind of like that residual revenue coming in on a month-to-month basis for your company. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. And cybersecurity, the risks never stop developing, right? You may think that you've deployed a completely safe and unvulnerable piece of code today, and then tomorrow somebody discovers something new, and you've got the log4j incident again, and now you're scrambling to figure out what packages you have in your system and whether it applies. So you have to constantly monitor for those risks, and companies don't want to do that, right? Their companies know they need to do that, but they're trying to develop their own solutions and provide their own value to their customers. So if we can bring that to them by constantly monitoring the risk environment in the software supply chain, then, we're helping them quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say companies don't want to do that, I really agree with you. And I feel like a lot of small, medium business owners don't really understand that they're actually the main target for a cyber attack. And how
100%.
do you go about conveying that to your clients? Like, who do you serve? Do you have a particular niche that you focus on? And how do you go about conveying that value to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think they know. They typically come to us knowing that there are those risks out there. And again, risks mean different things to different people. Some may be concerned about legal risks, others about vulnerabilities, others about foreign contributors, any number of risks like that. Where we help them is see that there's also other pieces of this risk puzzle that we can identify for them. Whereas they may have been concerned only about legal risks before, they can now see all of these other types of risks can be managed and automated as well. I didn't even realize that. That's great. You guys can help us out. We focus, I guess, given our background, we focus a lot on aerospace and defense and anything related to, U.S. national security, which can mean a lot of things, right? I mean, if our financial system were to collapse or our healthcare systems were to collapse, that would be a catastrophe of national security type levels. So, but given our background, we have a lot of experience and history in specifically aerospace and defense. And so we've spent a lot of our time there and helping anyone from small to mid-sized business all the way up to sort of the prime contractors who are developing major systems for the government and for the DoD. I mean, the short end of the story is everybody is developing software, it seems like, and almost everybody is using open source components, and almost everybody has a very deep supply chain. We're not just developing little snippets of code anymore that we use in-house and nobody ever sees them. We're pulling software from all over the place to build really complicated systems. So there's a lot of folks that we can help out there. But given our background, we've spent a lot of time in aerospace and defense.
How do you go about, like finding these people? I feel like that's such a particular niche. Florida has a lot of defense agencies and aerospace agencies. How do you go about connecting with these?
Well, we've been in the space for so long that we've just built incredible relationships with a lot of people over the years, and a type where you can call somebody up, and even though you know they don't have a need for what you offer, you can share with them what you're doing, and they say, "Oh, I've got these 5 people that you need to talk to," which is just fantastic, right? I love all the people that we've met over the years. We help them when we can, and they've been able to help us sometimes. Finding new conferences, just getting out of the house and going and meeting people at conferences and events is a lot of fun. We have a lot of luck setting up a booth and showing the technology that we have. And, a lot of people will stop by kind of not knowing what we do because we are a small company. And then as soon as we share what it is that we're working on, they immediately think of the software that they're developing and the risks that they're concerned about and how we may be able to help them. So combination of folks that we know and then just getting out there and talking to people and, setting up and showing the software has done a lot of great things for us.
Like you said, relationship building, I feel like is the key, not just to your business, but to any business out there.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, all of the business that we've ever gotten at any company I've ever worked at is on the back of a strong relationship with somebody who has a need for what you're doing, and you've got a way to help them. So we try to never lose touch with those folks that we've done that with. And even if it's not a business relationship, you still have a relationship where you can text them and see how they're doing or just talk to them over the years, which is great.
What major shifts are you seeing in the industry right now?
Well, there's a lot of movement on the government side on how to deal with these software supply chain issues. I feel like it started with this software bill of materials movement that happened a couple of years ago with an executive order that came out and really kind of impressed upon people the need to capture what is in our software. And software bill of materials have been around for a long time, but it was really an acknowledgement a few years ago that the government's saying, look, we've got a lot of software. It's being developed by people from all over the world, and we kind of don't know what's in it, and we need to. And that just progressed into, well, now that we know what's in it, let's make sure that we're keeping the risks out of there. So it's been a work in progress. It's been moving, at least for government speeds, it's been moving extremely fast. They need to find out what's in the software. They need to attribute risks and vulnerabilities to it. They need to point those out. And then they need to go back to the people who are developing that software and share that information with them so that they can replace those packages or do something different to lower the risk in the software systems. So we're seeing a ton of movement on that front and an acknowledgement that the software supply chain is kind of a new hot area where attackers are finding their way in. It's a much bigger deal for an attacker to get some vulnerability or some piece of malware into the supply chain than it is to hack a single system. Because if you can get that vulnerability into the supply chain, well, that package may find its way into hundreds or thousands or millions of systems that are out there. And that's a big deal for them. They get a lot of street cred for doing that. So I think the biggest trend is just sort of an acknowledgement across government and industry that supply chain is full of risks. Attackers now have access to that supply chain and are trying many different ways to infiltrate it and get in and do their thing. And that we need to do something about that.
What would be a good approach as a company? Because of course you cannot control the whole supply chain, but what are some of the steps that you can do to be part of that supply chain but protect yourself as well and your company?
It can be done manually. It can be done with some open source and tools that are out there. It's checking to make sure that the pieces of the puzzle that make up your supply chain, which could be packages that you're using for development, it could be tools that you're using, either open source or otherwise. Just knowing what it is that's in there, that you're not grabbing things ad hoc and kind of forgetting that you ever put them in. You kind of want to know what it is that builds up your software and the supply chain that feeds it, including all of the tools, the compilers and linkers and everything else, build tools and whatnot that you use. If you have an understanding of what all is in that supply chain, well, at least then when you hear about vulnerabilities or you hear about some of the risk that comes out, they're using tools and technologies that have been developed by people outside of their organization, whether they're compilers or linkers or build tools or what have you. And that attackers now are looking at that as an avenue, a way to get into the systems because it's a much more juicy target for them to attack the supply chain where they can affect potentially hundreds or thousands or even millions of systems with one attack than it is to go after a single device that's connected to the internet. That doesn't really disrupt much, right? It may disrupt one person's life, whereas a supply chain attack has the potential of disrupting many systems and giving them a lot of street cred along the way.
The supply chain is definitely where the big
Yeah.
fish is at. And so if you had a magic wand to solve a problem in the industry or in your company that is possibly slowing you down, what problem would you make go away?
Well, it's the one that we're trying to make go away right now, which is how do we allow developers in our companies the ability to move as fast as they possibly can by leveraging open source software, by using all of those tools that are available, many of them freely on the internet. How do we let them move as fast as they possibly can without allowing them to introduce all of these risks into the organization? There are many packages that you can choose to do a whole number of different things in your software. Some of them have risks, vulnerabilities, legal risks, other issues associated with them, and some of them don't. And so if there's a way that we could allow them to kind of pick the pieces that they want and in real time, like at development time, being able to assess those very quickly and say, this one meets our company's policies, go ahead and use it. This one does not. Here are some alternatives that you could use as a developer to still accomplish the same goal. That would be great. And that's what we're building today as a way for them to be able to do that so that they can move at the speed of development, but not inherit all of the risks that come along with using these pieces that are a part of our sort of global supply chain.
And I think that's really important because, like you said, like a lot of these softwares, you don't own the LLM, right? So like if you put something sensible in there, it's just gonna be part of the database now. And you have to be really careful with what tools you're using. And I think that's really what most companies are experiencing currently. Like how do we leverage the technology, but while at the same time mitigating the risk? So I think you're really
Yeah,
spot on to hear
100%.
that you're taking the time to really, like you said, move at the speed of development, but without inheriting that
Yeah.
risk as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And where do you see your company in the next 6 to 12 months?
Like I said, we're building that technology today to be able to help people sort of move at the speed of development and keep those risks out of their systems. And so I just see us finding more people that have these needs that we can help. I see us integrating maybe over the next 12 months, sort of a little bit mid to longer term, to help assess the risks that maybe we can't wrap our heads around as humans, as I said before, just being able to leverage this large data set that we have. And I see ourselves expanding, into customers that we haven't met yet, people that do have these needs, and we find a way to be able to help them out. So we're pretty excited about the future, just because, again, we've gotten to this point now where the technology is very mature and scalable and can really help a lot of folks out. And it's coming at a time when a lot of folks are more and more concerned about software supply chain. And so, we're really excited about, maybe being able to meet the market, meet our customers, where we can provide some value.
Yeah, I love that answer, and especially because, like you said, it's in such demand right now. And you being so involved in marketing and sales, like how are you planning to expand to meet all of these new people that don't know about your company and how you can actually help them?
Social media is a great thing that we'll continue to leverage, but really the real answer is just getting out and meeting people, right? That face to face and the handshake goes a much, much longer way than somebody reading your post on social media. So we'll continue to do sort of the typical social internet outreach just to let people know what we're doing and how we're trying to help them. But at the same time, we're going to get out there and we're going to go to some of these events where our customers are showing up because they have these needs and they have these problems. And if by chance they walk by and we can shake their hand and show them the software that we're building, that's where I think they'll get the most bang for their buck, and we will as well, just making those connections and being able to help folks.
And when you say social media, I feel like that's also a very powerful tool that a lot of businesses might not be leveraging in the right way. Are you making business like via LinkedIn, for
Yeah.
example?
Yeah, we focus a lot on LinkedIn. The other social platforms are fantastic for different reasons, but LinkedIn seems to be where a lot of professionals are going to get industry related news, and to also they're pretty welcoming there about hearing about what you're working on and understanding what you're working on, and and talking with you about what it is that you're trying to do professionally. And so it's a great place to share what you're working on and then happen across people who have those needs. So social media wise, we're really focused on LinkedIn just because that's where a lot of other businesses are and a lot of professionals are that have these types of needs. And if we can get our message in front of them and they see a use for it, then we can start to make that connection with them.
Yeah, and do you have like a team on marketing that is like constantly reaching out to people on LinkedIn to book them?
It's the same. It's me largely driving it, and then the same group of folks that are working on the engineering and the finance and everything else as a small business. We all put our marketing hat on where we need to and help out. But yeah, I'm driving a lot of it, and again, trying to find ways that we can take these complicated supply chain cybersecurity topics and boil them down into something that you can look at and say, oh yeah, I can use that. Like that's really meaningful to me. And that's a hard problem, but I have a lot of fun trying, at it.
And what is the biggest lesson that you learned in your journey that has helped you become like who you are today, Mike?
Oh, that's a big question. I think as a technologist, I started programming when I was 11 or 12 years old with a friend. We were making video games on our computers in our basements and just having fun with technology. And then I went and got a degree in computer science and I tried to do everything myself. Like I said, I'm a hands-on kind of a person and I would try to write the code myself and then I would try to market it and I would try to reach out to people and sell it as well. I think the biggest thing that I learned is that I can't do it all myself. And even if I could, I'm not always the right person for it. And so that's one of the things that I really have enjoyed about Dark Sky. And frankly, all the previous companies that I worked for is just the people that I have been surrounded by, sometimes of my own making, but most of the time not. They've just been A-plus players and you can learn so much from them and you can see how they do their jobs. It's been fantastic. So learning, that I couldn't and that I shouldn't be doing all of these pieces myself and instead finding others to build a relationship with and help them do their best has been a game changer and it's something I'm still working on. Like I said, I'm hands on and I like to get involved, maybe a little bit too much.
I think that's part of the journey on becoming, a CEO and scaling your business is being able to realize that, and being able to delegate and find the right people is definitely key there. And if there's a message that you would like the audience to take home with them after they listen to this episode, what would that be?
I think it's that these challenges that we deal with in cybersecurity, especially as it pertains to software supply chain security, have solutions to them. There's a lot of folks that we talk to that we hear have these problems and they don't know that these types of solutions exist. So a lot of the things that they're doing manually or a lot of the worries that they have about the risks that they're pulling in from open source packages or the tools that they're using, they're worried about them, but they don't know what to do about it because they don't think that the automation exists. So if there was one message that I could share, it's that there are now solutions, not just ours, but plenty of solutions out there that can have a really meaningful impact in keeping the risks out of the software supply chain, keeping your cybersecurity hygiene good, your posture high, and basically preventing the worries that you have and still allowing you to use all of these great technologies that are out there, many of them, for free.
And if someone was in search for something like this to protect themselves from the supply chain, like, how can they contact you?
Yeah, I would say either LinkedIn or our website, darkskytechnology.com, has links to LinkedIn. It has information about us. It has a contact us page that goes directly to me and a couple other people so that, we'll get back to you almost instantly. But if you're on social media, LinkedIn is the best way, find Dark Sky Technology or find me, Michael Mehlberg, and reach out and connect. And we can set up a conversation. I can answer any questions that anybody has.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. I deeply appreciate your insights. You've been a world of information, not just for me, but for everyone listening
Thank
back
you
home.
too. Thanks.